Hello, everyone. I'm almost done, which is exciting for me. This is the last panel of the day. This is actually a sequel to a panel that we did at the very first S.O.S event back in 2019. It's called Putting the Art in Artist, I believe. And the idea behind it originally was that with the growth of dance music and the professionalization of, quote unquote, underground dance music, that artists are spending a lot less time making art and a lot more time worrying about business concerns and marketing and all these kinds of things. And while you're dealing with all that, how do you find the time to still be an artist? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And joining me, we have MARRØN, Barker, and Ogazón. Thank you so much for coming, all three of you. And I thought we'd start out today by asking, as an artist, all three of you are artists, what percentage of your time would you say that you're actually spending on your art? And in comparison to all this stuff that's not art that you still have to do as part of your job? Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go with it. To be honest, if we talk about the stuff that is not art and you have to make yourself representable, for me, I just go with the flow when it comes to it. Like, I'm not focusing on what I should put on social media to become more visible. I just try to put out stuff that is directly in line with my musical vision to the people that connect directly to me. So I see it as a tool that you can reach people easily, and not necessarily as like, oh, I need this business type of profile to become what I am today or to become bigger. So my focus is always on the music aspect and the musical vision and what I can do to do something good for the scene.
But you still must have like, oh, I have to talk to my agent about these gig offers that I got, or oh, I need to talk to this publicist because I have a release coming out, or anything like that?
Doesn't really work that way. I see the agenda and I see what comes up. When he hesitates about something, then we discuss something. If not, I just go with the flow. He knows my I would say the things that I don't want to play for, the people that I don't want to play for, or he knows my vision, he knows my goals, and he knows the way that I should get there. So the way to get there, the smaller shows or the shows I shouldn't play or should play, he makes the decision for it. And if this needs to be something to be discussed, then we discuss it.
All right, what about the other two of you? What's your art versus non-art split like?
I guess I'm quite lucky that I can devote a fair chunk of my day to working in the studio and kind of coming up with stuff. I would say that the split for me is like what percentage of what you work on actually ends up being productive or shared with the world. And I'm also not leaning too heavily on social media and sort of strategies. I did this year get a manager to handle a lot of the more annoying, laborious communication kind of stuff, because I'm really terrible with my inboxes, and I'm just I think the being good at this kind of stuff is a skill in itself that is kind of, I don't know, for me it's not very compatible with the kind of chaos that you need to kind of unstick your brain and get ideas that might be sort of culturally valuable in the end. So that's been a massive help, having somebody who's kind of overseeing, making sure I don't miss things, and following up on opportunities that might be interesting, and kind of condensing that all and then saying like, here's what we've got this week. So we have a weekly hour or so chat on Tuesday afternoon, and kind of summarize. And he's also starting to like handle posting on social media, because I mean, it's not so much that that it takes a lot of time to kind of write a post and post it. It's more that the whole system is designed to stick a vacuum to your head and suck everything out and like waste your time. It's like designed to be an absolute like energy sink. So, you know, and it's designed by very smart psychology, you know, experts who know exactly how to tweak your interests. So it's more like having somebody that can do that, so that I can just kind of delete the app and not have it as a sort of temptation to kind of fill every little moment of free time where you're, you know, in an airport, or you're, you know, doing things where you've got to kind of wait a little bit till the next like appointment or whatever, or just like sitting on the sofa with your coffee in the morning and you know, and then it's like an hour is gone. So it's like these things are highly addictive. These platforms are designed to be highly addictive, and that's the real kind of benefit for me of just like, because you keep it there because you think, oh, I should kind of like maintain something of a kind of a profile, and you know, if you're told that if you kind of like things, that comments, and you know, if you engage, and you know, there's all these kind of things that you're supposed to do to keep you know, to keep that whole system sort of lubricated. And there is a benefit in, you know, in terms of you know, promoters will look at that as a kind of as a metric of how much they should pay you, or how many people you're going to pull in. However flawed that is as a metric, and however easy it is to game that system, it's still sort of relevant to maybe, you know, not all promoters, but there's definitely you know, a large amount of promoters that would be like, oh, they've got X amount of followers, like let's pitch this kind of offer to them. Yeah.
So stay off social media is the lesson. What about in your case?
I can relate to everything you just said. I think I do spend a lot of time preparing, because I am someone, I religiously prepare my sets. I play mostly with vinyl, actually vinyl only, but I hate to say it because it sounds so obnoxious. But so those records obviously need to be packed if I want to play them that weekend. And sometimes I play multiple shows, some being techno, some being house. And I spend most of my week really just preparing, unpacking, digging, buying new music, putting it in, trying out transitions, whatnot. So I think I'm happy to say that that's the biggest chunk of my work, let's say. But then there's of course also the meetings with my agent, who's in the back. Hi Miko. To think, okay, where you know, discuss requests that came in, or I don't know. I want to be able to put more time into my label launch that will hopefully happen soon. But it's just, people often think that because we're DJ mostly during weekends, that during the week we have a 5-day week to just chill and hang, but that's really not reality of things. But yeah, also my usage of social media is a little bit like yours. I don't really post many posts. I do it once a month to announce the dates where I'll be playing at, but I notice more and more that I'm just doom scrolling so much, and I'm just sitting at the airport and just scrolling, and this movement, I can't do it any longer. It's so annoying, but it's just became part of, yeah, almost a routine, because you want to check the messages and you want to reply, and then you end up being on some page that you didn't want to be half an hour later, of some cats cuddling or whatever. But yeah, I'm trying. I think it's really important to try to stay away of it as much as possible.
All three of you have mentioned working with other people, whether that's a manager or an agent or whatever. In dance music or electronic music in general, there's a real phenomenon of a lot of people, especially when they're starting out, they'll be like, oh, I'm getting a manager, and they'll hire their friend who's like, you know, because they just want to have like a buddy around, which doesn't always work out well. How did you go about, or how do you go about selecting who to work with, when to get someone to work with, and then how do you choose? And what do you look for?
I don't have a manager.
I don't have one either.
But a booking agent.
Sometimes, yeah, booking agents. Sometimes I have a tour manager, but a tour manager is indeed one of my good friends, and it's more like a mental support. Being away 2 weeks, and especially being away from my family. Being away for 2 weeks, that does something to you. It sometimes can be lonely traveling. So when I do the long tours, I like to be to share it with one of my good peoples. So, but when it comes to a booking agent, it took me a long while actually to make a decision when it comes to an agency, but I'm really happy with my decision, and I think it's very important to have someone that you can trust. That you don't have the feeling that your agent is not doing his work, or you're constantly on your toes of like, is he working hard enough for me? And I hear a lot of stories about that stuff, and I never have that. So I'm really, really grateful for that, to have that in my position. So that I can just focus on me and my work. So having someone around you that you can trust, that is not scared to tell you when a set was good or not good, to give you honest feedback so you can get better. Because no one in this world is good enough. We can always get better at something. So I would like to have someone around me who's able to hold me accountable when it's needed, in whatever. So I can always stay sharp and get better.
How about Sam or Natalie? How did you go about, Sam, you said you started working with a manager this year. How did you select that person?
It's also a good friend.
Bad idea.
In fact, my my booking agency is Little Big, and I actually worked for Little Big as an agent at the very start. Ned and myself were in his basement in Brighton, booking a whole bunch of people, and Marcus joined the company at some point, and so although he's a friend, I've seen him work, and like you say, it's having somebody that you trust first and foremost. It doesn't have to be a friend. I think a friend who you don't trust would be a kind of a strange dynamic, but I think somebody that you trust will do a good job, and that you can see is good at what they do. I like to see, also I like to work with people that share the same values, and so that's sort of important. And generally, those people will become friends if you're working with them on a daily basis. And management was also somebody that I worked with. So it was somebody that that was running the Leisure System label with me and Ned, Aaron, and he became a friend through that project. And when I was sort of getting kind of overwhelmed with stuff this year, I thought I would kind of give him a shout and see if he fancied kind of doing some work with me. I also worked with previously with the label manager or ex-label manager from Osgood, who's also a friend, but started out as a kind of business relationship. But I think it's, when you spend enough time with people, you share a sort of you have some common values, and you can see that they're good at their job. That's kind of like that's the holy trinity of selecting people to work with, I'd say.
Natalie, I'm guessing you also trust your booking agent.
Not really, no. Of course, I do. Mirko, I do. There's not much to add. I think it's also important that you get along on a human level with the person. If they're your friends. But Mirko, I didn't know Mirko before joining the agency, and it was just having a good click with the person, knowing or seeing that they understand where you wanna go and how they can push you into that direction. And I feel like without having to sometimes I trust him for example, if there's a request coming in and he thinks or knows that it's not worth taking it or even considering it, I don't have him asking me every single request, is that something you want to do? Because as we mentioned, I would rather focus on, actually putting the work into what I want to do and not discussing every request coming in. That's why it's really important to have someone that can steer you in the direction that you want to go without having to talk about it too much. And I don't have a manager either. I don't see how at this point of my career they could or would push me or whatever. I'm really happy with how it is right now, and for now I'm good like this.
You talked about requests coming in, and I imagine that for all of you, there's requests coming in to play gigs, to do interviews, just demands on your time. And there's a pressure in the industry to say yes, say yes to everything, build relationships, build networks. I want to know for you as artists, how important is it to say no to things?
Very important, because you could say yes to one thing and it might lead you to a whole different direction for your whole career. And that's why I think, especially in the beginning of your career, it's very important to know what your goals are, know where you want to play, know what type of artist you want to be, what type of career you want to have, because decision making at the beginning can lead to drastic changes. So I think, especially also, I'm not a producer, but especially for producers, a lot of young producers, they tend to release very quickly, and they'll release a lot, and then 2 years later they have a total different sound, and I can really appreciate the producers, artists that really take their time, also with podcasts, to really take their time and find their sound and really know, okay, this is what I want to put out, and then you're not hesitating and you don't need validation from the outside world either. You just want to do what you want to do, and if you believe that this is the music you want to push, you don't care if somebody likes it or not. You do it for the people that are like-minded, and then they might be 100 instead of 1,000, but it is for the longevity, and I think that's the most important thing.
Sam, do you say no a lot, or do you have Aaron saying no a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you don't do is kind of where authenticity lies. It's kind of an invisible trait in a way. I think what you turn down is sort of as important, if not more important, than what you take up. I mean, I'm happy that I didn't have to say to Boiler Room or Horde that I want them to take my video down, because I never did it for them. But that can be a sort of a handicap, because these were strong sort of promotional platforms, but you don't get to kind of make a cool announcement post saying, "Hey, I just turned down a Boiler Room show."
I mean, maybe you can now. I feel like in the current social media environment, that might be a good career move.
I kind of just did, I suppose. I was like, "Hey." But I think the things that you don't do is sort of like silence. But yeah, I think I don't know. I'm not going to say that I judge people when I see people associating with questionable or doing things that I myself wouldn't do. But it does sort of send a message. I think the things that you associate yourself with sends a message of what your values might be, and I think it's a question of what your tolerance is to cognitive dissonance, and I think some people have really high tolerance. Some people don't think about this stuff at all, but then other people I sometimes meet on the road who are getting swept along by some kind of wave of opportunities, and they've said yes to a lot of things. They've been sort of encouraged to do this or that, but it doesn't sit with them, and you can see that their mind is that they don't have the kind of tolerance for this sort of dissonance in their head, and you see them kind of like, ignoring away at them. Yeah, I mean, I think you maybe have to kind of do a few of these things to kind of experience how that feels and how it sits with you, to feel like you're not really, acting in accordance with your, with your values or your ethics or something. But yeah, I think I've kind of figured out what my tolerance level is at this point.
I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about the no issue, but I thought of something else, so maybe this will tie together. If you think about electronic music 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we didn't used to know that much about artists and what they did. There was a much bigger level of secrecy. And if someone offered you like a corporate gig or something with that involved questionable ethics, like you could probably do it and no one would know. Do you find that it's you have to be aware of like your career choices, whether it's taking a gig, whether it's partnering with someone on some creative project? Do you feel like you have to be more aware of that now than maybe when you started? And like, how does that weigh on you as an artist, like having to be that hyper aware of your actions all the time?
It's exhausting. Sometimes I just think I just want to be able to play records, and lift up people's moods without having to think twice. Oh, is this ethical, or who is this tied to, or who is this person representing, this collective party, whatever. But this is just the times that we live in, and I think I'm being very careful with the gigs that I take, being super careful with the promoters that I work with, and because the risk of being called out and cancelled is really high, and we see it can happen like this overnight. And I think it's just something, besides that, of course, just the ethical part that I want to do and work with people that have the same values that I do. And it's something that I really take into consideration before accepting any gigs or collaboration or so on.
Jesse, what about you? Are you thinking about this stuff?
I have almost nothing to add to her. It is really exhausting, to be honest, and sometimes really difficult, but it is necessary. You need to be aware. You can't just go out there and be like, oh, I'm just going to play some records, make my money, and get out of here. No. It is just a lot more things that you look up to and have to deal with, and this is the time we live in, and we have to just go by it. We have to manage to not lose our identity in this type of world, but it's not something we can just deny and just keep your eyes shut and do your thing. Like you have to pay attention to it for sure.
Another aspect of the times that we live in is that even though you're all working with music, we're living in a culture that is increasingly visual. The way that people encounter you as artists is probably going to be on social media, or maybe they saw a video of you playing somewhere. How you dress, people are looking at that and commenting on your appearance. How do you balance that, or how do you deal with that while also like just trying to do your art?
I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry for my language, but I just really don't give a fuck. Because the thing is, if you're gonna focus on all these little things, how are you gonna be you? Like if some people might like the way I dress, some people hate it. Some people like the way I walk, some people hate it. Some people think I'm playing techno too boring, and some people be hypnotized. I'm not looking for outside validation, because I never came into this game to be validated by someone else and be liked by people. No, I'm here to do what I love to do and to find like-minded souls and make people happy, and that's it. And I'm not going to focus on what people like or don't like. I do appreciate when people do like me, of course, and I speak my gratitude to the ones who do. But I'm not going to be focused on the ones who don't, because it's only taking energy from me, and I'm not going to spend any energy on it. I'm trying to put out positive energy and that's it. So I'm not really focused on that.
Mic drop.
I think there's a certain amount of, I mean, you know, if you put a picture of your face as the first thing on a Instagram slide, then the algorithm is going to prioritize that over somebody who puts the flyer for the event. So it's like, you know, you want to put the flyer up and show, you know, all the other artists that are playing, and to, you know, to promote the event in a kind of appropriate way. But the algorithm says, like, if you don't do what we tell you, you know, what we don't tell you, but what you can, you know, like, ascertain from the way that things go, it's basically, it's like, you know, put a picture of your face up. So I don't know, I haven't looked at your social media for a while. I'm not speaking specifically about,
no, but
like, you know,
I have a
do you do that, or do you kind of like go with the, you know, like, I want to promote the party, not my stupid face, like.
No, I think it's a very good point what you're saying, and especially when you talk about the algorithm. But do we care about algorithm?
That's the point.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna use your language here. I don't give a fuck about the.
No,
algorithm.
like, I'm not even worried about what works. Like, I remember this one video that got posted by this Spanish promoter, Blackworks, that I played there. And I know for I think because of that video I gained like 20,000 followers in a week. So the most logical thing that would be is like, man, this works. Let me just post another video like this the next week, and then we'll get another 20,000. But it's about, do you care about the algorithm or don't? You know, because the way I see social media is I'm putting out stuff that, you know, I've created a certain way where I put my stuff out and speak more philosophy type of stuff, like thinking, you know, or speaking out the way I think about music, or the way I think it should be promoted, or the events, you know, my own event or whatever, why we don't announce lineups and stuff, and try to explain things so we kind of like educate each other. This is the most important thing for me when I put it out to, what to say, 100,000 followers, so I can actually speak some knowledge about how I think about it. I don't care about if this post gets 500 likes or 20,000 likes. You know, I just see it as a connection that I can quickly connect to the people that I found important that might be my followers. So I'm not focusing on the algorithm at all. You know, I just post stuff that I feel that is cool or not cool.
I have the same. I mean, I've been using Instagram. I checked the other day. My first photos was in 2013, and if I look back, all the photos that I've taken, it's still the same kind of vibe and visual kind of identity. And to me, I've always used it as a platform to just showcase my pictures. And I remember very well the first time I joined an agency, they were like, "Nice that you have a photography account, but you should really also do a DJ account." Where you post photos of yourself DJing, hands in the air moments, pictures of yourself, blah, blah, it will work much better. And I was just like, okay, sure, I'll do it. And then at one point I thought, but why? Like, this is just as much part of me as my persona, the taking the pictures, than the DJing. And I think it also makes a little bit sense if you look at my photos. There's a lot of shadows. It's also like, I mean, nothing special. It's just waves or whatever, like a lot of organic forms and shadows and patterns. And then if you listen to my music, you also have a lot of this a bit more organic sound or patterns and rhythm. And I feel like it can be, I mean, it's maybe a bit far-fetched, but I think if you look at my photos, you might understand my music better, and vice versa. And I don't see why I have to just separate both just to generate more likes and more followers. And I remember them being like, yeah, but you don't have enough followers, you're not going to get booked. And then I said, well, if this is a reason for them not wanting to book me, then I'd rather not play this party. So I don't know, I just use it because I want people to know where I'm playing at. I like to repost some videos that are made from the party, say thanks to the promoter, and also push the promoters, if it's a smaller one, by posting the lineup or the flyer of the event. But I don't like posting photos of my face and videos. And also, I'm really against all these snippets and the party recap videos, because it's so not representative. Like, if you play a 4-hour set, you cannot just do a carousel post with 10 videos that are 30 seconds each to represent the party, because obviously you're going to choose the videos where there's all the hands in the air and people go wild. But if if you have a long slot, you take your time. I love playing longer slots because of this reason, because you can build up a set. And in the beginning, there will not be people losing their shit. Like, people will be listening in the best of all cases and jump on this journey with you. And this is not the part you see on social media, but that's for me the most important one. And that's why I'm really never going to do any of those.
I mean, thinking about visuals, I mean, obviously, you know, selfies and photos of your faces is the obvious thing to think about. But there's also the visual element of, if you have a release or a label or a flyer, you have to think about graphic design and fonts and all of these things, or, you know, video editing, making a promo video, like all these things that were not part of the checklist of what you needed to do as an electronic music artist before. Does that, is that something you enjoy thinking about dealing with? Do you outsource it? Like, how do you deal with that kind of visual stuff, and how does it fit into your, you know, your own artistry?
I think it's cool. Kind of like, I don't have a label yet, but I'm gonna launch one in January. You guys are the first one knowing now. But you know, the reason why I'm dropping this label, or why I want to do this label, is to give back to, especially a lot of producers that gave me so much leading up to the career where I am right now. And the visual part of it is really, you know, going back to my heritage and taking back a lot of images or like inspiration from my heritage, and try to push it forward in a way where I can mash this into the artistry of the artist that I'm involving in with the label. And I think that's a very nice creative mind that I have to explore, you know, and see what colors I want to use, and to be different from what is already out there. And I think that's something cool to do and to be thinking about. So I also want to do that stuff myself. Nobody can do that for me. But when it comes to myself, no, I don't really think about it.
I mean, Sam, you've put out multiple albums and releases on, like, you know, high-profile labels. Like, how does working the visual aspect of that for you?
If we're talking completely separate from social media,
yeah,
then I think it's I think it's like really quite an important kind of part of the overall kind of product. I mean, I really think that the utility record with this kind of painted kind of skull front cover was half the kind of success of it, really. Like, the Matt who did the artwork really didn't get enough credit for that. Because I think it is a very sort of visually driven kind of economy at the moment, and especially for kind of digital stuff, but also, you know, if something stands out in a record store, then, you know, it might end up behind here as opposed to in here, and I think it's just another like it's the other side of the story. You can kind of use it to kind of contextualize the music a little bit, or to contrast, or and I also never really feel like I get what the album or what the release is all about until I see it with the track titles and the artwork and everything together, and I can kind of imagine holding the record in my hand and go like, yeah, I think this is good. You know, it feels like a sort of like you're blind until you get that kind of visual thing that goes with it. And usually it's, you know, it's like a very sort of instantaneous feeling of like, yeah, that fits, that works perfectly. You know, after going through lots of different kind of potential options, and then one thing is just that's the thing. Yeah.
I mean, Natalie, you said, you know, you do photography, so I imagine like you already have a brain or an interest in the visual aspect of these things. Do you see, when it comes into your DJ life, is it just kind of an extension of a creativity you already had?
I mean, I'm a super visual person. Zach said just before that he never remembers the track title, but he remembers the artist. I don't remember the artist nor the track title. I remember the sleeve and the font, and oh, it's on this black, and there's like this curve, whatever. So people ask me for the ID, and I try to explain to them what the cover looks like. Good luck with finding that one. No, but yeah, for sure, I'm a super visual kind of person. And when they say never judge a book by its cover, well, that's what I do all the time, and sorry to say so.
I want to ask about a different aspect of the job and whether it matters anymore, and that is talking to people like me in the music press. Does it matter, like in terms of how do you approach it as part of your job as an artist? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you avoid it? Yeah.
I mean, I love talking to you, Shawn. I always have, and I will say.
Good job.
But you know, the music press. I think like we can producers can be like, oh, we're suffering because we don't get paid for what we do, and DJs are exploiting us and stuff. But I think the bottom of the pile is music journalists right now. I think it's you're doing the Lord's work really by filtering the like insane amount of stuff that gets put out these days. It's exponentially higher than it used to be, and there's much fewer people who are actually taking the time to sift through it all and present to the public what they think is the kind of cream of the crop, so it's never been more important and more valuable, the service, and it's never been so kind of sidelined in a way and underpaid. I had a lot of friends who got into different areas of the business who wanted to be music journalists. They loved music, they loved writing. They put the two together and thought like, this is the career for me. And then, and then it sort of kind of evaporated almost. I think, how many full-time music journalists do you think there are in
the world? Like 30, maybe. Like, I mean,
it's crazy.
It's
really.
a very. I mean, certainly, if we're talking about electronic music journalists, it's a very low number.
Yeah, because when you answered this question, I was really thinking like, man, what is he talking about? Because I don't even know, if I haven't, really talked to music journalists like that. You have interviews in magazines and stuff, but when you talk about this stuff, like you don't see it too much. So I mean, it's actually
it is an art form. Like writing about music is an art form that I when I'm gonna show my age, but when I was growing up and buying the weekly magazines, I used to buy Kerrang and NME when I was like a teenager, and that would be where I would that was like the way that I would navigate a record store would be like I'd make some notes about like reviews that that sounded interesting, and I would start to get to know the reviewers in the magazines as well and their tastes, and I would go and buy things basically just off a recommendation, because you couldn't always like listen to, and I was buying CDs, so you couldn't always kind of listen to the music before you bought it, and I didn't get the internet till I was like 18 or something, so there was a good 5 years where I just trusted music journalists, and I would like sometimes it wouldn't be to my taste, but then most of the time you kind of like, and after kind of this process you get better at kind of like judging like from the words what you might be enjoying, and also because you can't consume so much, so you're buying like 1 or 2 CDs a week, so even if you didn't like it on first listen, you give it a second or a third listen, and then maybe by the end of the week it's your favorite record kind of thing. I mean, I'm getting nostalgic now, but I've also done, just to like say kind of how things are now, I think it's still incredibly important and you know, getting the kind of thumbs up from the music press does play a big part of having kind of strong record sales. So I would speculate that there's still quite a lot of people that are navigating the music market world, navigating the record store based on what people are writing, and especially, you know, things like sort of end of year lists. I know, like, there's always these kind of discussions that come up about you shouldn't rank music, and then, you know, the publication does like an unranked list, and just to kind of appease these people that basically just want to complain about whatever online. It's like, it's arbitrary. It's just like they just put it in an order, and, you know, it's one person's opinion, or it's like it's a team of people's opinion. It's not like this is the best thing, but just like listen to some of it. If it's in the list, like listen through, because the end of year list as well. Like I know this from running a label as well. Like when something's in there, then it gets a good kind of boost. So yeah, for me, it's very, very important as a producer.
I feel like we're doing another panel now about music journalism, but I'm happy for your support. Natalie, what about, I mean, for you as a DJ, does engaging with the press, I mean, I know you did like a feature in Resident Advisor once, but like, do you even worry about like what the press is writing or thinking about you? And
I wish I could say no. Of course you worry about it. Of course you want the press to write positive releases or features or whatever. But I don't really put that much. The thing is, last year I was working with someone who was doing my PR for a little bit, and I really felt like it was, suddenly I had all these opportunities to do all these interviews, and I turned down every single one of them because I thought I have nothing to say. I did one or two. I don't have much more to say. I don't have any exciting releases coming up, or my label is also still very early in the making. I feel like there's also a such thing as too much press, where it's just and another article and another feature and another this, and it's, if I don't have anything to say, I don't see why I should be talking to lots of journalists. That's how I see it.
The phrase like "I don't give a fuck" has been used several times in this conversation. It's okay, we're all adults. I don't think there's any kids here. Yeah, just making sure. But I'm curious, as artists, people are going to give you feedback that can be journalists. It could be people in your Instagram comments section. It could be a colleague. How do you deal with negative or critical feedback, and how does that impact then you when you're, working on your creative stuff? Does it make you change course? Does it make you like dig your heels in? Like, yeah.
I think it's hard because in the end we're all human beings, and if someone attacks you verbally, of course, of course it gets to you. I think the most important is to try to not let it get to you, even though it sounds easier than it is. But so I notice in some cases it just takes away way too much of my time. It's just my mental capacity sometimes is just juiced out when something happens, and I get some backlash. But I think as soon as you reach a certain level, and I don't want to say fame, but people know you, you also become an easy target quicker, and it's so easy to just point fingers at someone and blame someone for not doing things right. And I think you just have to protect yourself and try to dissociate or disconnect from this problem as much as you possibly can. Just delete the app, ignore, watch some Netflix and chill.
Jesse, how do you deal with it? I mean, you said earlier like the press is not that much on your radar necessarily.
Yeah, but haters are. So yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Like she said, we are all human beings, and of course it gets to you. And also for me, it took a while, because the first thing you do is kind of like wondering where it comes from. Why is it this way? Why people don't like the way I put out my music, or the way I walk, or the way I dress. You know, you want to think about these things, and I think it's also human and good to think about those things for a little bit, and then realize where you can get some feedback from. That is something that you know that you can take on and move forward for, or just look where, especially when it comes to your career. How, for me, when I speak highly about myself, is like I always try to remember the way I got where I am right now. Then when you have a lot of opinions from everyone, and you should play this way, you should play that way, blah blah blah, then you always got to come back to what is your identity? Why do you do this? Why do you play this music that you love so much? And why is it that you can hear this for 20 hours? And maybe the 20 people there don't like it when you play it for 20 hours, but me, I would love to hear it 20 hours, maybe 21. So I just keep reminding myself where, what is the reason why I'm doing this stuff? Is it the reason that I want to satisfy everyone, or is it the reason that I'm actually here because I actually love it, that I actually have passion for it? So that is always the leading factor for me in my career. And then, like I said, I will always, if it's feedback, whether it's bad or good, I will always look at it and see if I can take some from it. If not, throw it in the garbage, and the rest just go on.
I think we're going to open it up to the audience. So if anyone has any questions, raise your hand. Don't be shy. We're almost... Oh, there we go.
Hi, thank you for everything. Really resonated with me. I had a thought about the social media part in the beginning. Like, I feel like I wonder, maybe that's the right word, that this nonchalantness with social media, it's only possible after a certain tipping point in your career. And I wonder what your thoughts are on more beginning artists. If, like, I feel that they cannot always afford it to be a bit nonchalant about it. Just everyone, you all. Sorry, I was looking straight at you because you're right in front of me, but it's everyone.
For me, see, my career is a bit weird because I used to be a professional basketball player. So I was never meant to be a DJ. So I started doing this because I was kind of sick and tired of skipping through sets, because I would love like this 20 minutes part of a set, and then I would hate the next 10 minutes and I had to skip through. So I collected my tracks myself, and then I started playing myself and record this set. And I found out that the dynamic was horrible. So I had to, I just kind of re-recorded that set for like 60 times until I found that my dynamic in the set was really nice. And that's how I put it out. And that's actually how it just kind of went my career, from there. So it's not. I was really, even when I was DJing for a little bit, I was not meant to be a DJ. I was still a professional basketball player. So for me, the pressure of becoming a DJ and becoming famous was never there. I was just doing stuff that I love to do, and and it's kind of went there. So I don't, it's kind of like I must say I'm lucky also, to be in this position and to be liked by people the way I'm playing it, because otherwise I wouldn't have making it right now, because I would never put myself in a position where I would do certain things to be popular, So I'm lucky, and I'm also aware that of beginning artists where they want to become a DJ and they have to face this social media type of stuff, and you have to act a certain way or counter this algorithm, all this type of stuff. I would go crazy, But I always, because I do get this question a lot, like people even ask us the first question, "Hi, I'm Mark, and how did you become famous?" I'm like, what type of question is this, But it's something that you have to deal with nowadays. And I always tell them, like, listen, just focus on your musical aspect and do what you love to do. And at a certain point, when you do it long enough, I believe that people will appreciate you for your realness, because that is for the longevity. Because at a certain point when you go from hype to hype to hype, when the hype is over, you got to jump onto the next. So if you do something that you love to do, I hate to say it, because sometimes very talented people do it for 10 years and don't get recognized for it, but you just have to trust yourself and believe that you're different and just keep doing it.
I think I would say, like, I totally get where you're coming from, that like, it's, if you have like a big following and you're already established, then it kind of runs itself. You post something and it can be just like whatever, and just you on a train, take a picture out the window, looking forward to the gig, and 10,000 people are like, nice one, you know. It's like the validation is sort of like baked into this into the numbers. I never speak to anybody that's like, I love social media, you know. I think it's awesome. I just love scrolling away, and you know, everybody's like on the same sort of in agreement. But why are we all there? Like, and I don't think. I think the you know, the real kind of way forward as an artist is to try and build the world that you want to see, and to not kind of just say like, oh well, everybody else is doing this, so I have to do this too. There's a really great essay. I think I've spoke to Shawn about this before. It's called the 1,000 Fan Rule. It's Kevin Kelly who wrote this in 2008, and he basically would challenge this kind of like this rhetoric that you have to aim for these kind of insane numbers, like, you know, you need 1 million streams on Spotify to get, you know, pay your rent and to you know, just have a basic standard of living. To earn minimum wage, basically you need 1 million streams a month. And he says, you know, that might work for some people, but if you're doing something where you're, you know, the audience isn't that big, then he has a kind of like a napkin math idea that you decide first how much you need to be a, you know, full-time professional artist. So let's say you need 60,000 a year to cover your costs living in Amsterdam. So then you aim to develop a small but dedicated fan base. He says 1,000 fans as a kind of like a achievable or, you know, manageable number, much more so than, you know, 1 million or whatever, and to find a way to get these super fans, he calls them, to give $60 euros in a year. So, you know, to focus on first creating that amount of things for people to buy, whether it's tickets or merchandise or records or whatever it is that you do, and then working hard on cultivating those 1,000 fans, and to make a sort of like, you know, like a special little fan club of people who love what you do and will support everything that you release. And my like, I would encourage like young artists or artists that haven't sort of established themselves on these big platforms, and are wondering how you know, turn your passion into something like a career, is to, you know, forge a different path, and just to think about things a little differently. Like, you know, Shawn has done this with his mailing list. He's, you know, not relying at all on social media for his livelihood. He's you know, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to say that it's easy, but I think you
No, I'm rolling in it. No,
yeah.
just kidding.
but I like that, you know, I think Shawn's a good example of somebody who's kind of like made a success of this kind of principle of just, you know, jumping in, doing your own independent thing. You have a platform like Substack that's there that you can sign up to, and it takes a small cut, and you take the rest. You know, Bandcamp is great for that. Like, if you're a music producer. So and there's all sorts of things like this. I don't have many followers on Instagram, and I definitely didn't when I was you know, having some success with my first sort of releases on Osgood. I can say that I did not rely on social media to get somewhere. I just sort of did what I wanted to do. Music journalists were kind of very supportive of that. I'd been in the music industry in a sort of peripheral sense for quite some time before that. So I think it's maybe the slower way. You don't get this kind of explosive growth of, career growth. And maybe if you're, for certain careers, if you're, maybe if you're a DJ and there's not so many sort of avenues to make money outside of like self-promotion and being out there as a public figure. But if you're working in other types of other creative roles, then I think there's nothing to say that you have to do it the way that it's the way that things seem to be laid out. Like I think be creative about how you promote yourself, and don't worry too much about these platforms that everybody anyway hates. So make a website, like build a community around the website, make a newsletter, get people to sign up for your email list, and you'll get respect for that in the end. If you manage to build up an audience, and in the end there's a few ways where people can see how well you're doing that are real, that you can't fake, and that's like ticket sales, record sales. You can't force people to do that, and you can't buy people to buy your tickets. I mean, you can give away free tickets, but I sold out a free entry show. I mean, but why not? I mean, if people want to come, like set the price low. I know I'm probably like giving a way too long an answer to your question, but no, but
this is like a real monologue.
No, that's it. That's enough. That's enough.
Sorry, I don't mean to embarrass you. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Should we do another question from the audience?
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
You guys can answer this one.
No, it's maybe not a question, but more maybe an extension. When you were talking about saying no and also the social media aspect. I'm Jacob. I organize events in Rotterdam, and so I would be on the promoter side. But I think the interesting part is, as a promoter, you're trying to create this world for people. And by saying yes to certain things, you might exclude yourself to certain worlds you want to be a part of. And if you're not honest to your soul, maybe, or yourself, and you just, when you say no, you will eventually create that own world that you really like, and you will get to the maybe promoters or the events or the spaces that you like, because the promoters are also looking out for things that fit their world. So that's just a little extension, and I thought maybe you could agree.
You want me to agree?
No, it's more like
yeah. No, I mean you were just looking in my direction. It's okay.
No, and also the social media aspect. The cool thing about it is you can create an online world, of course. So that's the only reason why you could use it. Create an online world.
I think we all agree. Does anyone else? Sorry, I don't mean that. Yes. Do we have another question?
Yeah. I'm on my way.
Okay.
Do you think nowadays that producing and DJing collided a little bit too much? Like when you go back for 10 years, for instance, you could be a DJ for a track selection. And what you see after Corona is that producing and DJing kind of collided, going hand in hand. So the people who just have a passion for DJing have to produce, and people who want to produce kind of feel that they have to DJ nowadays. So how is your vision on that aspect as an artist?
I disagree.
I get that, but you were already an artist before Corona. Like times have changed a little bit.
I think when I started, there was what you're saying. There was a lot of pressure on. If you want to DJ, you better have some tracks that you put out. You better produce as well. Many people told me at the beginning, like, you have to produce, otherwise you won't make it. But honestly, my passion wasn't with producing. I was really from the dance floor, and I loved, being there and mixing tracks. So at that point, like I mentioned before, I was never really focusing on becoming this thing or becoming this artist. I was just doing what I love to do. So DJing was the only thing for me. I was not looking into producing to make myself relevant as a DJ, because I think producing is a skill itself. It really, I would say it would enhance your skill on both ways and your understanding when it comes to the musical part of things. But I think, I've seen before I was DJing, I saw many producers that I was so hyped about seeing to DJ, and it was so disappointing. And the other way around as well, and I think there's only, I wouldn't say there's only a few, but there's a few that are really good in both, and many that are actually better in one thing or the other, and I think I would encourage everyone who is trying to be an artist to do both, but do it because you love to do both. Do it because you think that when it comes to producing, you have a certain thing that you want to make. When you're a DJ, you have a certain musical thing that you want to put out. But don't do it to be relevant for the other, because that is the wrong reason. I think you should do everything out of what you do out of passion, and that's it. And I think now you see a lot more DJ onlys and also just producers. I wouldn't say it's always for the good reason, because now also because of social media, like I said, if you have enough followers, you can be a DJ and play at shows, and I don't think that is the right approach from promoters also to encourage that, but when it comes to when an artist is good enough to be in a club to be there as a DJ, or has spent many hours on a dance floor as a promoter, or as working at a club, or being a night manager, or doing something in the scene that makes you understand music in a club scene, I would say, why not? But becoming a DJ because you're a hype on social media, I would never support that. And also musical wise, I think as a producer, I think it's that really speaks for itself. Good music is good music. It's subjective, but good music is good music.
I mean, I think I said I wouldn't say anything, but I just have to say one thing. I think I don't know any producers who live from their work as producers. I think this is like the big problem at the moment, and I think the A-Slice talk kind of, this was a project that was sort of trying to address that problem. I think I don't know what it's like to be just the DJ. And to feel sort of pressure to produce. I think the pressure to produce is probably, how do I go like even further, or how do I push my, my earnings or my profile, to more ambitious sort of place. But I think if you're a producer, you need a second job, and that ideally that could be DJing, or in the most cases, it's like a 9 to 5. So like a lot of the, really great producers, they're not living from their work, but they're getting, maybe played like every weekend by like tons and tons of people. And I know that both of you are really careful you were both signed up with A-Slice, and you're very diligent with kind of exposing the people that you're playing and saying, giving credit to the producers, but most DJs aren't, and I think that is a big.
I'm gonna stop you. I'm not. I was not on A-Slice because I. Don't kill me! Don't kill me!
She gets a get out of jail free card for being an all vinyl DJ right now. We hadn't gotten to the pressure of vinyl DJs because we were still fixing ways to make it easy for them. So she gets a get out of jail free card on this.
Hey, how do you still have
and Jesse was one of the first ones in there. He's got my green light.
Can you just believe he just had the mic the whole time? He's just out there pulling it out like, yo.
I'm watching.
I mean, I didn't know we were gonna go there, but we're here now. So it's just the time and effort that I put into finding records, buying records. Of course, every single vinyl that I play, I bought it. And vinyl these days, a 4-tracker costs 15 to 16, 17, sometimes even $20. And I play one track maybe of those $20, and imagining a whole record bag full of records, 50 records of freshly bought vinyl. that's already a lot of money that goes pretty much straight to hopefully to the label and the producer, but also the time-consuming part. After coming home after 3-gig weekend, hell no, I'm gonna sit down, take out the records, look at the tracks that I play, put it out in a list. That will take me another 2 or 3 hours when I'm exhausted already. So that was really one of the only reasons why I didn't use this license.
I mean, no, you're good. Comparatively, a DJ digitally versus a DJ with vinyl was 1 minute versus 30 minutes to an hour to do the same job. So we fully understand. Like I said, you get a jail free card on this one.
You know, if you had a manager, that could have been managing.